Hello, this is for Bard, so welcome back. As you can see here, I'm in my Bard spec, because it takes a while to get into support or DPS as um, into Nightmare Tide. We're just going to do this on the dummies. Like always, I always do suggest that with looking at talent trees that you hover over everything, see what's happening, how it affects stuff. But here is my current rogue build. I'm 61 Bard, 5 Nightblade, the 5 going into increasing attack, power, and weapon damage by 10%. Then 10 Marksman, um, 5 points in Keen Eye, increasing ranged attacks, and then increasing our attack, power, and weapon damage contribution of our ranged weapon attacks by 5%, and then increased firepower, increasing our critical hits of our weapon damage and attack power by 10% for 10 seconds. Um, might be a little bit better talent points than that, but so check back to see if I switch this out. But for now, this is the build I'm using. I'm using 61 Mastery Planar Replenishment. What this does is Power Chord casts all known motifs on use. Very helpful to keep those up and you not have to really use them by themselves, those 3 motifs. 62 is Center Biology. What this does is Cadenza now benefits from points spent in Invigorated Soul. Cadenza is a bard ability, and Invigorated Soul... Where is it? Oh, it's more up, up. There it is. Invigorated Soul. Your cadence heals up to 10 party or raid members for 6% of attack power each time the deals damage. That's the more the healing one. So if you need to help raid heals out by spamming some heals, you used to just pretty much spam cadence to get up the things. But with Senate Biology, your Cadenza helps heals passively, so you can actually focus more on your DPS, and it does the same effect. Increased movement speed on level 63. You might have another one that you guys might want yourself. But normally with Bard, I find you're not really starved for energy, so balanced energy doesn't really matter that much. You don't have a battle res, you don't have reports, and reducing duration of crowd control effects used on you by 10%, that's more PvP thing. So I was alternating between the two run speed ones. So take your preference. Currently I've been using Time Focus as level 64. I've found out recently that our channeled ability only puts 1 stack on instead of each text putting a stack on. So we might have a better one than Time to Focus to do some damage. Repetitive Strike could be 6% damage increase. That's permanent as long as you don't die and keep on generating combo points. 7% of your damage done is turned into ethereal. Damage increased by 7%, reduced by 4%. As a bard, currently at the moment my gear, I only have a 17% crit chance. So I'm not critting that often, but also reducing my crit chance by 4% is pretty hefty. I'll be down to 13%, so I wouldn't recommend using that one. Most times, healers and tanks, they know their cooldowns and when they need some help and stuff. So as a bard, if you're needed for the more support thing, Apothecary's Will could be helpful to put on the tank so that the single target damage they take um, ends up being healed a little bit. Or maybe the planar variation to heal somebody. Otherwise, if you're not needed for the support and you can just focus on damage, energy manipulation, of course, is your go-to to help increase your damage. Now as well, let's look at my... Really only for Bard I have 2 macros really. This was from before, but might change out the heal one. As I said, from one of the masteries, we get on Invigorated Soul, 6% of our attack power ends up healing for 10 party members, for, well, 6% of attack power, as I said, each time it deals damage. Since our Cadence is a 2-second channel, same with our Cadenza, they both now heal for the same amount. Cadence is 16.2 life damage over 10 seconds. Our Cadenza is 26. So before with the masteries, I had Bard damage macro, which this is now the new one with the energy manipulation mastery. Cast Verse of Agony, which does not build any combo points. Cast Power Chord, which does 2 combo points, and then cast Cadenza, which would finish off with 3 combo points, building to the max of 5. The other one, for the heal one, back at 60, was Verse of Vitality, does no combo points. Power Chord does 2 combo points. Cadence built up to the max 5 combo points with supplying the extra 3. But because now Cadence does less damage and Cadenza does more damage, we could just replace the Cadence with Cadenza there, so we still do more damage, but because you're using Verse of Vitality, you end up with more heals. Verse Vitality does small 3k to 4k, with my stats anyways, to 5 party or raid members. So Verse of Agony just does some massive damage. So really these are just the 2 macros. If I need to help with heals, I kind of spam the Bard heal macro, otherwise spamming the damage one. Some people do put Riff in their macros. I don't like to. It's 30 seconds. I kind of like to know when I'm using it, so that way I can kind of try and time it with some stuff. And you'll see here in a second. So as we know, for the most part, is Bard really has 2 buffs, the raid buffs that they put up. Anytime somebody dies or a couple people die, I do suggest, even in the middle of combat, is reapplying these buffs, because that increases those, especially DPSers that died, it increases their damage and their survivability. So always be conscious to try and rebuff even in the middle of fights. Other than that, the Fanfare of Vigor and Fanfare of Power, we have 3 anthems. Only 1 anthem can be up at the same time. Anthem of Fervor, if there's a Chloro healer, you don't have to worry about using, because Chloro healers have the Clover, which Living Energy does the same thing, does not stack with Anthem of Fervor. So that means we're really just looking at Anthem of Competence and Glory. Glory increases armor and resistances, where Competence is faster move speed. Um, Archon does a casted spell that then does increases run speed. Um, we found out earlier that it seems to not stack with the Anthem of Competence. I don't know if it's weaker run speed or what. I'd have to double check that to be sure. But depending on the fights and um, like warriors and rogues, if there's a lot of those and you don't have a core healer, you normally want to run fervor, just because the rogues and warriors do tend to get energy and power starved. Um, Other than that is if there's a lot of running around, you might want to use your Anthem of Competence, even if the Archon with using their spell does a weaker version. There is times where if there's a lot of movement, he might not be able to refresh that buff because of the cast time. Um, so it's pretty much just figuring out if there's a lot of movement, you probably want to use Competence. If there is just minor movement and the Archon can keep casting, I'd say probably use Anthem of Glory. So pretty much it's knowing the fight um, and knowing who's in your group, which anthem to use. As I said again, even if people have died in the middle of a fight, is rebuff them with fanfares of vigor and power. Multiple escalation we have, which just is for trash packs for the most part. We have a AoE cleanse, very useful for some things, really helpful. Both Finric, really helpful. Verse of Captivation, now that we only have this one, it's an instant cast one enemy. Uh, if anybody remembers back in Storm Legion in Tier 2 with Infinity Gate, um, we had a bard to help control the ads down on the bottom until our DPS was good enough that we didn't have to use the bard to do that. But it's kind of a good thing to help control ads that come in the middle of fights sometimes that they can be CC'd, so Verse of Captivation is always good to have on the bard. Combat buffs, of course, big raid cooldowns, Orchestra of the Plains, Verse of Joy. You can macro them together and just remember to click it twice to do both. Um, most times it's good to hit Verse of Joy with that as well. It replenishes energy, mana, and then you don't have to think about it. Otherwise, like, you could offset it, but it's just easier to click them both together. Um, Virtuoso is a 1 minute cooldown. It allows you to just spam finishers. It's how you can get a lot of damage done in a quick amount of time, um, and you'll see that soon. So there's 4 motifs, but one is useless. All it does is the little nearby level 1 critters follow you as the motif of encouragement. For fights, we're looking at motif of bravery, increasing attack and spell power, and critical hit chance on party members for 20 seconds. As I said, our power chord, which is in both our spam builders, the damage one or the heal one, applies the known motifs. We have motif of regeneration, which is my stats at the moment, 3.5k hot over 20 seconds. But it also, the important thing is it actually increases healing received by 5%, allowing the raid healers and tank healers to have more powerful heals. And then Motif of Tenacity reduces damage taken by 5% on all party or raid members for the 20 seconds. So with our spam ones, our power chord is always going to be refreshing these, but as well, whenever you use a finisher, it refreshes the motifs. Motif of Regeneration tends to pull aggro sometimes if the tank isn't quick enough or if they're pulling multiple things at once. So pre-pull, I do suggest at least putting up Motif of Bravery and Motif of Tenacity. Um, and then just allowing Power Core to kind of bring up Motif of Regeneration. Just so that way you don't have a hot getting threat just as the tank pulls. Especially for trash. Especially for trash. If you notice trash coming to you just as the tank pulls, yeah, that's probably the reason why. Other thing for healing is there's a 2-minute cooldown, very small absorb shield versus osculation. Fights like Ungalok, I tend to try and use this at times with the um, opening up the cages and the pressure blasts. Different fights you might find uses to kind of use it just to kind of help heals out. Other than that, there is Harmonic Distortion. You gain stacks that you can then use to heal somebody for about, well, with my stats, 7.5 to almost 8.5k health. So a little bit of spot heal. It consumes 1 stack. Each time you use a finisher, Rogue has 20%, well, per combo point, so 5 combo point finisher, you get 1 stack. Stacks up to 5 times. Harmonic Distortion uses 1 stack to heal for, currently with my gear, up to 8k health. So with 5 global cooldowns, you could spam 5 small hot or heals. I do have it on my bar, but to be honest, I barely ever use it. So, as you can see here, on my bar, on my main bar, I have 1 and 2, the spam macros, either my damage macro or my heal macro. I then have Code of Restoration, which is a finisher that also is a raid heal. 5 combo point is about a 3k heal to 5 party members. So if you know that you need to kind of help out with raid heals, spam heal macro and finish with the Code of Restoration. Otherwise, kind of ignore the heal macro and the Code of Restoration. And then I have my Coda of Wrath as my number 4 for finisher. This is our single target finisher, and what you'll always keep on spamming for the most part. Then we have Coda of Fury, which is our 5 target, well, up to 5 target AoE finisher. More useful on trash. There are some bosses where it's good to kind of use, but depending if what it is, you might just be better off using the single target one rather than the 5 target finisher. So your discretion when to kind of use up the AoE finisher over the single target one. As you can see also on the bar, my 3rd bar here, I have it as control, but not used to using control for a modifier, so this kind of is my click bar. So kind of pre-pull, put up the 2 motifs. If you want to, maybe the regeneration one, but that one can get aggro depending if the tank is slow to pick up all threat. I have multiple oscillations to toggle on for trash packs. I have my shield absorb one, the AoE cleanse, and the verse of captivation in case I need to CC something. For trash, Coda of Distress and Coda of Cowardice spread to other targets, but it does not seem Coda of Jeopardy does. On boss fights, the Bard has to put up Coda of Jeopardy. It is what they keep up. It lasts for 1 minute. Same with with 5 combo points lasts for 1 minute. Same with the Code of Distress and Code of Cowardice. It's just that an Archon has the same debuffs that last for 5 minutes. So normally with an Archon, they're debuffing their 5 minutes then you don't have to worry about Code of Distress or Code of Cowardice. If there is no Archon, then you have to use up all three codas, and as well refresh them every 60 seconds. So just let me check here something with talent points about the codas. Okay, like this is another reason why I always suggest looking through your talents, seeing how they modify stuff. I was actually did not know about this. I just knew that using Power Chord was a DPS increase. But with the talent here, Chord of Inspiration, Power Chord puts an Absorb Shield on to up to 10 party raid and raid members for 9% of our attack power. But the other thing is it increases the damage of our next Cadence or Cadenza by 15%. So had the macros Power Chords and Cadenza, very, very useful. Okay, maybe it's not a talent thing, but I don't care at the moment. I'll just show here with our codas. This Rift gives us 5 combo points. Virtuoso keeps our combo points, so Code of Jeopardy here. Targets around it does not have Code of Jeopardy. Put up Code of Distress and Code of Cowardice, and the other targets around that one have those ones. So Coda of Jeopardy, you have to apply onto each one. You can have it on multiple ones, but the Code of Distress and Code of Cowardice, it debuffs stuff that are around the original target. I did not see with a quick look any of the talents affecting that, so it's just naturally inbuilt, I think. Could prove me wrong and find the talent and point it out, but for now, as I just showed anyways, Code of Distress, Code of Cowardice for trash pulls, debuff them because it will debuff the whole AoE pack. Code of Jeopardy not so useful in trash packs, so Bard, Trash, very useful. Make sure you use those ones there. Archon ones are single target and they last for 5 minutes. Trash packs are normally dead within, less than a minute, so Code of Distress, Code of Cowardice really does help for killing off trash. So now then, just kind of going into it. So normal kind of rotation. It's always kind of good if you can keep 5 combo points up before going into a boss fight, but if not, it doesn't really matter too much. So kind of treating it as a boss encounter, single target wise. Normally you want to give it a few seconds before blowing your raid cooldowns, because normally it's used where Flaring Power, Wild Growth, Orchestra kind of want all together at once for the biggest boost to all DPS when they use their massive cooldowns. But normally for fights, you're running in, it takes a few seconds to get into position. It takes a few seconds to get things debuffed, because having things debuffed is also a DPS increase for when people use their cooldowns. So it's always kind of good where after a few seconds use Orchestra and then Verse of Joy. Orchestra as well, if you're right on top, it does deal damage to things right around the area. So for certain fights, you got to be careful that you don't drop it somewhere where it can then pull an ad or something that's running past. Like on Ungalok, you don't want to use it right at the entrance because it might have a chance to pull one of the pattern ads on the side. Since it does do damage, if you run to the base of Ungalok, you'll hopefully have debuffed him with Code of Jeopardy by the time you've finished running. And then all you have to do is drop Orchestra and use Verse of Joy, and you'll be right on top of Ungalok, increasing your damage. So with this, always pre-pull, use one of the macros. It'll apply energy manipulation to yourself, and then with no combo points, started off with well, pre-pull, put up the motifs, and then what I do is Riff, Virtuoso, so we have the 5 combo points that persist, Code of Jeopardy, Orchestra, Verse of Joy, and then just spam Coda of Wrath, doing tons of damage until all the combo points finish. And then just go to the spam macro. So as you can see right here by myself, I'm pulling, I had over 37 at one point, sitting around 35 currently. Now, the thing is, I said Riff and Virtuoso, kind of really good. Riff is 30 seconds, Virtuoso is 1 minute, so you should be able to use Riff twice before Virtuoso is back up. So on your third Riff, you should kind of hold it off to use it with Virtuoso. Riff is a big damage thing, but just because it gives the 5 combo points, it makes it quite simple to use for debuffing stuff, getting those 5 combo points right away, and debuffing everything without losing the combo points. That's why I don't have it in the spam macro, so that way every time Virtuoso is up, or a few seconds after it's up, I know I can easily get the 5 combo points by using Riff. So pretty much that's all I do. The other thing is, in some fights, you might be called to run. Remember as well, all you need is line of sight to start a cadence, and then you can run away, and you have those 2 seconds to run. Very mobile as a bard. The other thing as well is, depending on how you run, like sometimes I don't turn fully my back and run away. What I do is I run forward and sidestep, and sometimes with that it actually allows me the angle where I can still cast and have be facing my target. In this small area it's kind of hard to see, but that is a trick I use on the triplets in Run of Fate to go get orbs, is that I'm running forward and sidestepping, and I still technically have line of sight, kind of like I just did right there. So I haven't made K alerts exactly for everything in Bard at the moment, because some of them as well are more raid cooldown alerts. But pretty much I have an alert for Virtuoso to know that I can keep on spamming my combo points abilities. Harmonic to let me know that I can use that for a spot heal. And then motifs. Motifs you want up all the time with the mastery, or power chord refreshes them, and a 5 combo point finisher has a 100% chance to refresh them as well. So if you're doing things properly, they should never fall off. But if there is a gap in where you're not DPSing anything, they might fall off. So back at level 60, I had one that just watched the motif of bravery, because what I always tended to do was I apply motif of bravery, motif of tenacity, and motif of regeneration. So the first one to fall off would be motif of bravery, so I have just K alert watching for that one. So I think that's pretty much it. The guild forums will have all the K alerts. As well, remember, Orchestra does not coincide with Lava Field. They override each other. Orchestra lasts for 15 seconds, where Lava Field, the buff you get is a 5-second buff, but the lava field itself, the circle, lasts for, I think it's actually 5 seconds. So by the time if you're sitting in there while lava field ends, the buff is refreshed and you end up having the lava field buff for full 10 seconds, I believe. But here, let's just make some K alerts before I forget. Illuminate is the same buff from Archon, except for it only lasts for 20 seconds. Beastmaster also have one of them, but I forget what it's called. An Archon can pre-debuff it, so this might show up for the first few seconds of a fight, and then you want to use your Code of Jeopardy to overwrite if they used an Illuminate. Archon should be doing that. They don't always, they'll pre-pull, so just be on the watch for if you do get an Archon that does do it pre-pull, because it does increase the DPS to have it pre-debuffed, of course. But your debuff is the better one. It lasts for 40 more seconds. Don't know why it's showing that one instead of the Code of Jeopardy one. And as well with, of course, K alerts, you can always move them, resize them, make them not as visible, making them a little bit see-through. So fiddle around with stuff if you want to for K alerts. These are just suggested K alerts for myself that I always find are useful to watch for. So change things around if you need to, of course. But that's it for Bard. I'll have the information on the guild forums, so watch out for that. And hope you enjoyed this, and hope that like any DPS the support can pull out is always for increased DPS. Myself as a raid leader, when I'm calculating how much DPS we need to kill a boss, I'm normally calculating that, okay, we have to burn 12 million health in 4 minutes. That means we have, maybe 6 DPS, whatever. I kind of calculate how much those 6 DPS have to pull to down the boss. I don't normally count support pulling much DPS, but there is sometimes where I say, like, if Bard and Archon are pulling 20k, the DPS has to pull 60k, where if the Bard and Archon can pull like 35k, maybe the DPS only need to pull 50 or 55k. There's times I do sort of those calculations, but more DPS that the Bard can pull is better for the run. As you saw, there is some masteries that can help with heals based off of attack power. So, well, crit power is very nice for damage. Barding is attack power heavy. Of course, if you're main spec DPS and just fulfill Bard roles when needed, I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you're a main spec Bard and everything, you'd be more focused on getting attack power over crit power, as well as at the lower phys crit. So just bear in mind what gear kind of needed, what's more improvements. If you have a few different pieces of gear that you can switch in and out sometimes, like right now I have in my bag Marauder's Longsword. Only has 100 hit, but because I have a few extra hit pieces, I can actually equip it to get maybe a bit more crit power. But so maybe if you have some higher attack power ones, you could just throw in your bags and save it until you need them to Bard. Otherwise, just keep on using your same DPS gear to Bard. You'll normally pull pretty good numbers anyways. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you enjoy barding and can improve yourself. Or if you're already good, maybe give some of us some pointers. Anyways, have a good one.